Hi everyone, please check the description for links and descriptions for anything that you need to follow along with this. I'm going in with my brush markers here, the Ohuhu Honolulu, and I'm going to make a smooth skin blend here. From dark to light, the colours will be E060, BR3, E160, R19 and E020. Before we get started, I like to do a layer of the lightest shade first. So this is the E020, and I'm just going all over her face, tickling her ear, and then I'll be doing her neck and anywhere else that we've got skin. I'm not being too careful about going straight up to where the shadows are, because those will be my darkest shades and don't need necessarily any light undertones. And then here comes the scary part, where I go straight in with the darkest marker and I start outlining all of the shaded areas. So I'm starting from where her hair is overlapping on her head and inside her ear, under her nose. You've got to think about all of the places where there's going to be a shadow for me. So around the bridge of her nose there. I go in the folds of the eyelids, so just using right on the tip of that brush marker there, right on the brush nib, and a little bit under the lip, but you don't want to go too thick there. And then you can go nice and thick under the neck here. At this stage I'm just kind of marking out where these will be. We've got the nice lines here for the collarbones, so I'm going in on the top of that line. And then at this point I've decided that I'm going to have a bit more of a shadow coming at her from behind over there, a little bit in the cheeky cleavage, coming down at the edge of her clothing, all of these areas to make the clothing appear on top. These are all your little tricks to add form to your colouring pages. A little bit on the top of the lip, and then coming in at the side of this hair. And what I'll essentially do is I start to step down through my markers. I like to go from dark to light, so this is my second darkest. This will be the BR3, and I would just keep overlapping these colours and do a couple of passes of this order of colours until I'm happy with the results. So I'll speed up here and there so that this video isn't 4 hours long, but please do pause wherever you need to, and you can see how these shadows just start to develop and the form. So around the nose I'm looking to create that V shape underneath the bit between the nostrils, you know, at the tip of the nose there. I'm coming in now on the other side of her cheek with that second colour instead of the darkest colour, because it's not as shaded over that side, and then coming in under the eye and then tickling those ears again, and you'll see that I will just step down through the different colours here. Now that I've done the first pass of skin tones, I'm coming in to do some blush with R190 and E030. So this is the darker pink that I'm using on her cheeks here, so I'm just doing some small circles on both sides. and then soften it down into the lighter red, which is closer to skin a little bit more. And then to get it to blend into the skin tone, I jump back to the lighter skin tone, which should be E020, and go around the outside, and that'll fade it into the rest of her skin. This is where I decided to not do anything special on the arms, and we'll just have the fishnets there as the black line work on top. So I'm using exactly the same color blend and just coloring her arms in. I don't bother to do the light shade first because I'm not looking to saturate this area, because actually more of a harsher shadow is fine here. I'm not looking for the extra effort basically to get that super soft blend. Then to finish up the skin here, I'm just doing another layer, going dark to light all over the face area, neck and chest, and it will just be repeating exactly the same as what I've done already, but it is just adding a little bit more refinement on where I want my shading, deepening up my shadows again, and just polishing off that shading for that blend. Now for a bit of eyeshadow, I'm going in with a GG3, GG040 and GG020. Again, starting dark to light, I'm just hitting up the fold of her eyelids first, and then I'm going to blend that out softly with the rest of those greys. I'm not trying to overblend because I'm just working with the translucent qualities and trying to lay that on top. And then going back in with my E020 just to soften that out now into the skin color. Then moving on to the lips, I'm going for RV250, RV330, R9 and R110. Starting with the darkest again, so I'm just trying to put in some little creases on the lips and hitting the shadow, and then adding to those darker shades and slowly working my way down through until I get to the lighter shades. Again, right on the tiptoe of the brush nib. And because I want to retain some of the detail in that shading there, I'm not trying to overwork the blending, I'm just trying to get the colours to touch. Then to finish off the highlights, a little bit of my Jelly Roll white pen. This will probably be a 08 or a 10. I like the thicker ones for a better flow there. Here's a sneak peek of one of the prototype colour swatch charts that I made. If you'd like a link, you can download those for free or pay what you would like. In the description below, I made a couple of Ohuhu 344 colour swatch charts for you. and wanted to share those with my audience. A little spot of more white highlight on the tip of her nose there. And now for the fun part, we're going to colour her eyes in. I'm going to go for a bit of a galaxy look. I'm going to be using the blender pen first to really saturate the inside of that iris. Then the colours I'm going to work through are BG2, as in Roman numeral 209, PB4, B090, G500. And going from the darkest colour around the edge, I'm just doing a little scribbling thing. I'm not trying to be careful here because it's not the look I'm going for. I just want to keep it inside that shape and definitely leave plenty of space for the more green of those colours, and almost dabbing it in, dab, 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 dab. And then going back in with the blender pen because I'm trying to get this watercolory look, and if you use a lot of blender pen you can really smush that around a bit, give it that kind of watery feel, which works really nice. And then here I grab some G360 because I do want some additional greens in here, and just go tap 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 and blend that all in. For shading on the eyeball, I've got my GG1 and I'm just taking that around the very outside of the whites of the eye and blending that out with the blender pen just to soften the edge of that a little. And for a little bit of tear duct, R21 right in the corner, just at the bottom of the waterline there, just to give a little bit more realism. And then back in with the white pen for highlights, just tidying up around where I oversaturated a little bit on the lines, and then drawing in some white highlights to make the eyes look wet. Lovely. I always find when the eyes are in, the image really comes alive and starts to spring to life. Now for her hair, I've gone for an extension of the colour scheme I used on her lips, which was RV250, RV330, R9, R110, and I'm throwing in some YR030. For the hair, it's all about the flicky flicks. So you want to be right on the tiptoe of the brush and you want to just flick, 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 flick. Now I do make a point of using the darker colours to subtly outline around the shaded areas, so around the face, around any layers where the hair is on top. That's where you're going to be darker. But basically, aside from talking you through strand by strand, I'm just going to let you observe what I do here. Like I say, I'm trying to keep the darker notes right at the roots and let the hair blend out. Because the hair is fairly straight, I'm just going to try and get some highlight to hit on any of the curves that we've got around there. But hopefully it kind of makes sense when you see how I do it. And if you're new to hair, then keep copying what your other colorists and other artists are doing, and then eventually it does make more sense. Hair is one of those beasts where you could spend as much time as you like on it. The more time you want on it, the more detailed and accurate you can be. But as a general guide, I go for darker behind back layers, darker at the roots, and sometimes darker at the tips. I think with this hairstyle though, I reserve the darkest shade only for the top of the head to give a little bit of an ombre effect going on, because I wanted to try that out. And then leave highlights for your shine. And what I learned is you can't overdo that. So when I first started colouring, I used to lose a lot of my highlight because I thought it would look unblended. And then as time went on, I realized that actually hair looks much better when you do have more of a white pop. So I'm going to let you just watch this. You've got the colors if you're following along, and yeah, have fun with it and play. And hair, just keep practicing, keep trying to get the finest little flicks that you can. Go in the direction of the drawing as well. If you want to keep yours to just pens only, you can skip this next step. Otherwise, I'm going in with a polychromos pencil. They keep a nice sharp point. I can't tell you which color this was because I just grabbed one from the color of the barrel, but it will be a deep purpley, whichever their really brown purple color is, and I'm just adding even more detail to that hair. Pencil on top of hair is always amazing, and especially polychromos, because you can get a really nice sharp fine point, and it is my favorite go-to pencil for all hair work, above and beyond any of the softer pencils. And then I'm just blending that out slightly by bringing in more of a matching shade, more of a purpley color, to stand out against that as well. Finally, just using some of the same shades that I've used in the hair, I'm giving her some eyebrows. So there's a lot of line work already on the eyebrows, so I'm just, gonna color those in with, I think that was about 3 of the colors from her hair. And at this point, I am just softening out anywhere that I may have smudged hair over the skin a little bit, and then going back in with the white pen to add just a few more lines of highlight in that hair, where again I feel like I might have just overdone it. so I might have lost a bit too much of my highlight, and I soften that with my finger before it dries. Time for the close, and I'm going for G1, G490, G4, G360 and G420, and this is just a nice simple clothing blend, so it's just all about the folds and the creases, starting with the dark and then, you know, putting in a couple of extra little almost triangular or curved triangular points that just stick out a little bit there to give the illusion of a fold. And I'm just going to blend this through. Nothing too special here, but please enjoy the footage. Because we have that nice panel at the front, I wanted to do something special with it. So I've basically taken the exact same colors that I used on her eye, starting with the blender pen, and I'm gonna kind of do a bit of a faux sparkly galaxy thing going on here. So just scribble, 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 very pixelated, a highly saturated area from the blender pen, and then just scribble, scribble, dab, dab, dabs through those colors all the way on there. Then I will add some extra details with these with other pens later. After colouring all those planets with just colours that we've already used, I'm now ready to tackle that background sky with the BG Roman numeral 205, MG 060, BG Roman numeral 205, and I'm going darker, closer to her and behind her, and then blending out to that lighter colour to the edge of that box there. The white border I'm going to leave, and yeah, this is just going to be a very saturated process, just scribbling it all through. One thing I did notice when doing this is because I was trying to get for a really soft blend here with those three colors, I worked it a lot, and that meant that I did get some bleeding and some feathering across the lines a little bit in places, and a little bit over my line work for the planets. But that's fine. I'll explain how I fix that. Over the white edge, I can do two things. So if this happens to you, you can either wait until it dries. Well, on both resolutions, you need to wait until it dry. The first option is to use your clear blender pen and colour in almost up to the edge, or about the edge, depending how juicy that marker is, on the white hand side, and that can push the ink back through the fibres and right up against that line again. The other option, which is much easier to control and quicker, is just to use your white gel pen and just, draw down the line. And that's what I do for this one. If you have a little bit of overbleed and you are not on a white line and you're about to color the next section, then usually once it's dry, you can just continue coloring and it will, hide, disguise, or at least erase those lines for you, and nobody will notice. At this point, I wanted to see if using the EVA sheet had contributed to some of that feathering a little bit. So I've never really used one before. I usually just use a scrap piece of paper, and so I just went in and stuck that underneath. That usually absorbs the extra ink because I had a feeling that maybe having the plastic underneath meant that the ink didn't have anywhere really to go. But I also think it's because they're brand new markers, so they're very, very full of ink, and I'm still getting used to the flow. Your brush nibs do make ink flow a lot more anyway, so you will get more ink usage from the brush nib end rather than, say, the chisel or a harder bullet nib. And I think it was more a case of that and just getting used to this paper. This is marker paper in this beautiful colouring book. It's been lovely to work with on marker, much better than a colouring book that is not designed for marker, which will bleed through even more and not in a controllable way, and is not as smooth as this as well, because you want to protect your nibs quite a bit. So that was my thoughts on that. These are the gold details now, or the gold coloured details. So I'm just finishing off basically everything that hasn't been coloured in thus far, the stars, the jewellery. And the colours for this was YR92, YR1, Y140 and Y130. And with all my other blends, I work dark to light. Because the shapes are so small, it's just a case of pick a side that's darker, pick a side that's lighter, blend, have at it. And that's all I did there. And then this is me going in with the white pen just to tidy up my edges that are going to be staying white. Now for the final touches. So if you want to be an alcohol marker purist in your page, you can totally skip this now, you're finished. However, I am coming in with the Spectrum Noir metallic flip pens and the Liquid Gold metallic paint marker. If you can still get any of these pens, I'll link below, but you could also switch these out for something in the Sakura Jelly Roll line, maybe is it the Stardust, or one of their lines. They are two-tone, so they have two colors in them depending on the light. But like I said, this is an optional step. I like to go a little bit mixed media. That's why I add the pencil. That's why I have no problem adding different kind of pens in. These pens have held up really well. I know I had a sad video that I posted of what happened to my Spectrum Noir alcohol markers, hence my Ohuhus. But these pens, they're great. You just shake them up, they carried on working. These are water-based, so they are still going good, but I just wanted to bring in some sparkles and all that good stuff, because this artwork is just so galaxy inspired. Obviously it's so whimsical that, you know, let's have fun. If we can't put sparkles on pages like this, then when can we? Other areas that get a lot of blinging here is the planets. I put a lot of sparkle there. Her little star freckles, little dots in her eyes and on that panel at the front of her shirt. And then the gold I used to outline on the stars that are in the background. And yeah, I just couldn't stop really. just kept going. I'll also add some star detail in the background as well, so you'll see the white pen coming back in, but that's pretty much it for this page, so I'll let it play out to the end for you just so you can see how it looks in the end. Like I say, if you like this artwork, find this book. I'll put a link in the comments for you, in the description for you below, so please go and check her out. I think it's the first colouring book that she's released, or at least on alcohol paper, which is like finding gold dust. So obviously, vote with your feet. If that's what we want as colorists, go ahead and get these so that we can get more made by this artist or other artists in the future. And yeah, thank you for joining me for this. All in all, it's taken about maybe 4 hours to do this page, so hence why I've had to shorten it down and condense it for you. But yeah, it's taken me a while to edit it all together to make sure that I get it just right for you. But please join me again in the future. Well, the usual nonsense, like and subscribe. But of course I would be honoured for you to hang out with me some more. Comment below if you want to see more like this. Like I say, these longer tutorials with voiceovers and everything, they take a substantial effort. So if you want more, I'll do more, but just let me know that you want it. I think the YouTube algorithms seem to be pushing a lot of the unboxing and review side of things these days on everybody's channels. So let's retrain the algorithms if you want tutorials and lessons to pop up more. Take care.